So in the last 50 years, we are proud to say we have invested in democracy and non-violence, ahimsa, both based on Indian model. Now, when I went to Europe and America, I also said the same thing. International community ought to support Tibet because we have invested in democracy and non-violence for the last 50 years. If we don't get support, Tibetans will keep moving forward, believing in and investing in non-violence and democracy. But if we don't get support from the international community, then there are many groups, freedom movements and others, watching. They will say, it's not worth investing in democracy and non-violence because you don't get support. Now suddenly some conflicts flare up in some parts of the world and everybody rushes to put out the fire. Oh, you can't fight, you can't kill each other. But then it's a little too late. So all along, had you invested or supported non-violent and democratic movements, that will set an example or model for other movements to follow suit. So this is what we have invested in. In that sense, also it is in the interest of the international community to support Tibet and Tibetan people. Because what we want to pursue it non-violently and through democratic means. And every day, the responsibilities that I have, as I said, is very difficult. Let me share some stories. For example, I wrote a memo before going to the US, listing who are the people I want to meet, things I want to do. That was a month and a half or 2 months prior to trip to the US. Now, obviously, I have to assume that my phone is tapped and my email is read by someone. And then coincidentally, on September 16th, during the fall session of the Tibetan parliament, the first day, I had to introduce my cabinet, got confirmation from the parliament. So I introduced 6, colleagues, and they all got unanimous confirmation from the parliament. They passed in 5 minutes. So that is also another Buddhist way. I introduced 5 cabinets, 5 minutes confirmation. So I thought it was good news. When I came to the office, I saw my staff members in very bad mood, very gloomy mood. I said, what happened? They all open up their computers. I said, what happened? They said, no, the memo that you sent to the US is leaked to the whole world. Now our secret is out. People who we want to meet, things we want to do, it's out in the public. So obviously we know who did it. A country with a capital which starts from B. Not Bombay. Huh? So, then the staff members were quite nervous. They're saying, now secret is out, what are you going to do? Now they're going to sabotage this, and I said, nothing doing. We'll stick to the same schedule. We'll try to meet the same people and more. That's the decision we made, and we made great efforts before going to the US. And fortunately, we met 3 or 4 times more people than the names listed in that memo. And I testified before the US House on Human Rights just to send a message to Beijing that we will not be intimidated. Our efforts will not be sabotaged. Yes, we believe in nonviolence. Yes, we believe in dialogue. Ahimsa is our motto, is the principle we're going to follow. Having said that, we are going to stand up for our rights. So I lost my voice after 5 days because I was meeting so many people. And I was putting out in our website every day the number of people I met, sending a direct message to Beijing. And I think they got the message. And I also submitted an op-ed for Washington Post to be published. And they also received an email not to publish it from some embassy in Washington, D.C. We know who. But Washington Post published it anyway. Now, after my return, then I went again to Europe, as I said, 7 countries, 11 days, because I wanted to, have all these embassies get quite tired, because every day I'll be in a different country, And then obviously all the members that I was meeting in Europe got calls. In fact, I met an ambassador from one country, and their Asia division director was with him. So she said, "So you're coming to our country?" I said, "No, not this time." "Oh, but the ambassador already came and warned us not to meet you." But I went anyways and met relevant people in all 7 countries. Media was keenly supportive of the issue. They took keen interest. And the support for Tibet from the international community, even though there's a financial crisis going on in Europe, was quite big. So another story is also, I received an email from the bureau chief of Time magazine. She wants to write an article on Tibet. And I said, "Welcome to Dharamsala." 3 days prior to her visit, I received another email saying, "These are the questions I want to ask you." And I said, "Oh, what kind of journalist? Many students here, you don't want to give your questions ahead of your time." But I thought she was very kind. But also I was quite careful. I have Gmail accounts. So I clicked on view. Some Chinese characters came. So it was virus. Then when I clicked on reply, it gets very tricky. When I clicked on reply, and I thought I was replying to her because it was in her name, Hana Beach. When I clicked on reply, the email should be going to her. Then looked carefully, it was going to our envoy in Europe, Tibetan envoy. So I clicked reply and send that email. It was sending the same virus to envoy through him to all of the Tibetan offices. So it's a very tricky kind of virus. So I changed the reply and put her email and sent her. And 3 days later, she did come and said, "Yes, this is not from us, this is from someone else." And then she wrote one more article on that, you see. So they were trying to prevent publicity, but I got double publicity, So as it is, the job is very difficult, as at this age, and as I during the election, I was also criticized for being too young and no experience, and young and no experience, and given this job of Himalayan proportion is very difficult, obviously. Having said that, I am a Tibetan, and this is our movement. Tibet is my homeland. I have right to return. My father could not return. He died in exile. But I must make efforts that I be able to return so that my children and grandchildren can return and say, "I am a Tibetan, Tibet belongs to us." So that's why, after 16 years in America, I gave up my job at Harvard Law School. I left America to come to Dharamsala. Beautiful, beautiful town, but chillingly cold in winter. Unlike the US, you don't have central heating here, no air conditions. But still, this small contribution that I'm making pales in comparison to the sacrifices Tibetans are making inside Tibet. They are dying for our homeland and our freedom. And least I could do is return to India and go to Dharamsala and Himachal Pradesh and say, "This is our movement, we have to take ownership, and as per the vision of His Holiness Dalai Lama, provide leadership, add new blood to the movement, so that the younger generation all around the world will say, yes, we have to take ownership." Because transition we have made is drastic and historic in many sense. 400 years old institution of Dalai Lama has changed dramatically. He is mainly the spiritual leader. The political leadership is handed over. Now there is a generational change. I am born and brought up in India. His Holiness Dalai Lama and Samdho Rinpoche, they all were born and brought up in Tibet. Samdho Rinpoche, as you all know, he is a monk. His Holiness Dalai Lama is a monk. I am a lay person. So lot is in transition here.